Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the concept of circular flow. So, we start by going back a couple of months to when we have factors of production in a society, we ask ourselves what will be produced with those factors of production? How will it be produced? When will it be produced? Where will it be produced? And who's going to actually consume the goods and services that we produce with the factors of production? And of course, we started talking about like who decides how these questions are answered within society. Is it buyers and sellers, producers and consumers, or is it the government? And the reality is it's probably more like a combination of all of it, as we've said. And when we come together as a government and producers and consumers, and we decide how we're going to try best to address scarcity and answer those questions, we create something called an economic system. An economic system is a method used by society to decide how to produce and distribute goods and services. Okay, so it's a method used by society to decide, but on a much bigger level. We're not just talking about singular people here. Now we're talking about entire systems. And remember, a market is any place, physical or virtual, where buyers and sellers make an exchange. And either the market, buyers and sellers, can make that decision, or, of course, government. Now, we have names for this. Uh, when you get kind of the textbook definition, when buyers and sellers make that decision about, an economic system, we call that a free market system. That's when only buyers and sellers make that choice. When we deal with command economies, the government has ultimate control over, who's going to make the decision on what to produce and where to produce and that kind of thing. However, we're going to give it by its traditional names, and that is, capitalism, where buyers and sellers make the choice, and socialism, where government makes a choice. And the reality is, most governments in the world, most economic systems in the world, exist right here in the middle. Mixed systems where they take capitalism and throw in a little bit of government, or take government, throw in a little bit of capitalism. Okay? Now, circular flow has to do with a particular system that exists here, and that is the capitalist system. It involves two groups, buyers and sellers. The sellers in this case are known as firms or businesses. That's an organization that uses resources to produce goods and services, otherwise known as it's the producer or the seller. They provide goods and services. What they want is factors of production to actually make them. Their ultimate goal, of course, is profit. Total money after all costs are actually paid. Households Households are different. Households are people or a person that live in the same place, otherwise known as the buyer or the consumer. They actually provide factors of production and in return get goods and services. And their goal is not money, because remember, we said at the very beginning of the year, money doesn't actually do anything. It's what you do with the money that provides satisfaction. And in economics, we call satisfaction usefulness. We call that utility. Okay. Again, utility. So the goal for households ultimately is a good standard of living, good utility, very good satisfaction. We want to be satisfied with our life. And circular flow brings this all together, what households and businesses do in two different markets, the factor market and the product market. It shows the relationship and exchanges that take place in this market. Notice there's no government at all here, just businesses and households, buyers and sellers. And capitalism is what this actually is. Now, let's start with the first market that exists here in the circular flow. We have businesses, we have households, and we have them engaging in an exchange within what's called the factor market. Households own factors of production: land, labor, capital. Within this exchange, they take their land, labor, and capital, the flow of resources, and they take them to the businesses. They take it in terms of land to get back rent. They take it in terms of capital to get back interest. And the most common one, the one that we're going to use more than anything else, is they take their labor to the business. In exchange, they get a wage. And that's where the flow of money goes. So what we want to do is we're going to look this within this factor market is people take factors of production to businesses. Businesses in turn provide income to households. And the most common one, and it's totally okay if you stick it to this, is labor goes to work in exchange for a wage. You want a job, you go to the business, you guys decide on an equilibrium price that's going to be your wage, and you get paid cash money. Okay. And again, just like regular old supply and demand, firms want your factors of production at a low price. They want you to work for a lower wage, but you want to sell at a higher price. You want a higher wage. So you come to an agreement on what that wage is. That's equilibrium. Okay. So here's the first market, the factor market. And of course, just like anything else, when supply of land, labor, and capital goes down, the price and the value of that's going to go up, and vice versa. And when demand goes up, price goes up, demand goes down, price goes down. And so supply and demand still works. And again, the primary driver of this market is land, labor, capital. In this case, we'll stick with labor, goes to work. In exchange, they give you a wage. Okay. Now, let's go to the other market. Instead of the factor market, we now have something known as the product market. Okay. You still have businesses and households, and you'll hear like consumer expenditures and revenues here. Let's just call it what it is. And that's money. Households, by working, now have money. So what do they do with that money? Well, households, using the flow of money, households go to a business that sells goods and services, and that's the red, the flow of goods and services. In exchange for that money, you get goods and services. That's the second market, the product market that exists within this economic system. For example, I want coffee. I go to Black Oak. Black Oak makes coffee. I have money to provide from working as a teacher. Well, okay, coffee doesn't come for free. They want cash money. So we make an exchange. I give them some of my money that I got from working. They get that cash, and I get my Black Oak. They get their profit because they make a little money off of the bag of coffee. I get greater satisfaction because I get coffee and I get caffeinated up. And same thing, firms want to supply their goods and services at a high price. Households are going to demand those goods and services at a low price. They come to an agreement, that's going to be equilibrium. How do I know the coffee is worth it? Well, if I walk in and buy the coffee at Black Oak, that's equilibrium right there. Okay. And supply and demand still there. Why is, why do you go to Costco and try to buy eggs and the price of eggs is really, really high? That's simple. The supply of eggs is way down because of avian flu here in 2025. Okay. Well, then, that equilibrium price is going to rise. And so I need to decide whether the exchange in the product market is worth it. Okay. So this is the concept of circular flow. It all comes together. I have my factor of production, me, labor. I go to the business, school. I work in exchange for an income. That's the factor market, my factor of production for an income. I then take that money, I go to Black Oak, I buy a coffee in exchange. I get satisfaction from having coffee. They get the money I made from working. And of course, then we can keep going. Somebody else works at Black Oak. They take home an income while working at Black Oak. They go to Costco. They buy some eggs. They're satisfied because they got eggs. Costco's got more money. Then, of course, the worker at Costco that has come from the household is going to go to work. They're going to get paid, and on and on and on. And the money always keeps moving, 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 moving. As long as the money keeps moving, the economic system works out pretty well. Are there going to be some people that are going to be better off than others within the system? Yeah, people that make more efficient exchanges, people that are born with a lot of these needs and wants already met, they're going to have a benefit. But we're going to actually have a real idea of what the value of things are in the factor market. We know that there are some jobs that are more important than others because the price of that wage is going to be higher. We know that there's some goods and services that are worth more than other goods and services because we see the price be higher. So in this case, though, it's the buyers and sellers, the businesses and the households deciding what the actual price is. So factor market, factors of production in exchange for income, like labor for a wage, or product market, money in exchange for goods and services.